It is a joy to be with you. I want to just take a few moments tonight and just share about the trip. It's not necessarily going to be preaching tonight, but just a little bit kind of give an opportunity for you to see what great things God has done in our trip to India, which was far exceeded our expectations. I mean, it was God opened up doors of opportunity, and we had opportunity to minister in places we hadn't previously planned. Every time something changed, something else got dropped in. But I want to start, actually, this is really the only verse I have for tonight, but I want to just start by reading 1 Corinthians chapter 3, verse 10, because I guess I want to put India into a little bit of context as it relates to my going there. We already know Pastor Dan has already laid a foundation there, but as it relates to my going there, I felt as though God gave me a verse that has kind of commissioned me. I feel as though there's a kind of a commissioning for India. But anyways, in 1 Corinthians chapter 3, verse 10, and maybe, Jeff, I didn't give you the verse in advance, but if you could bring that up. 1 Corinthians chapter 3, verse 10, really only about 3/4 of the verse here, but it says, "According to the grace of God, which is given unto me as a wise master builder, I have laid the foundations, and another buildeth thereon." Lest you think I'm puffing myself up, I'm not the master builder. He is. Pastor Dan is the master builder. The Lord spoke to me and said, Pastor Dan has built a foundation on India. My part is, and another buildeth thereupon. Another buildeth thereupon. And so we're going to a work that has already been, you might say the well has already been dug, the foundation has already been laid, and the building already exists. Everywhere I go, Pastor Swarup says, this belongs to Erie. This belongs to Erie. So my part is to build upon that foundation. And actually we had an opportunity to do this because maybe a little bit of boasting on my part, but Pastor will understand it's just teasing. I actually went to a place in India that Pastor has never been to. He's been almost everywhere in India except for Pune, and I made it to Pune this year.
I'm glad you did.
What's that?
I'm glad you did.
Yes, that's a good father. But the point of the verse is this here. I'm going and eating of fruits for which I've bestowed no labor. The foundation's already been laid. And my responsibility, and I believe Becky picked up a little bit of a call here on this trip as well, is to build upon that foundation. Paul was the master builder. He came in as the wise master builder, laid the foundation, and another buildeth thereon. And so I feel as though that's what God, the responsibility that God has given to me. I actually am praying seriously that God would give me 2 trips to India every year. I believe that God can do that. This year, earlier in June when we were there, I think it was May. In May when we were there, I felt God speaking to me that I was going to be in India again, and I thought, I don't know how that can happen. Well, we were in India again, and this trip was longer than the first. So, farther reaching as well as far as I go. Anyways, thank you so much, Pastor Dan, for the foundation. I feel as though God is telling me to build upon that foundation, And all of the years and all of the miles that Pastor Dan has put into India have really borne fruit. And now there's a spectacular work in India. And we were blessed to be able to participate. Let me start first of all with Rebecca, because I have to say as a father, I was extremely, I don't know if proud is the right word. I'm not sure as Christians we're allowed to use that word, but I was very pleased, exceedingly pleased, we'll say, with Rebecca's. I made this comment almost the last day that we were there, and Swarup agreed. if somebody came in to this church and saw Rebecca interacting in this church, they would assume that she'd been here all her life. I mean, she just flowed. She just flowed beautifully with everything that was going there. In fact, there was so much flow, and God had been so gracious and had given her words that they wanted, that they needed and that they wanted to hear in regards to worship and with the youth, which was the primary reason for her going, that they actually came to me and they said, we know that she's supposed to go with you to Pune and teach with you, but can you teach alone? We want her to stay here and do another seminar on worship. So I actually went to Pune by myself. I have no problem. My notes are already done before I got there, so I could easily teach the whole session, no problem at all. But that's what I'm saying is, it was an open door for her. The youth received her gladly, and she fell in love with them immediately. They were inseparable. In fact, I think, in actuality, we said to each other towards the end of the week, we hardly saw each other. Rebecca and I went in different directions kind of the whole time, which I like because we doubled the team. We doubled the efforts. So her primary responsibility or focus was seminars and working with the worship seminars and working with the youth. That was the main reason for her to go there. And Pastor had made this comment some time ago about these beautiful Indian people, and I just couldn't agree with him more. Once they catch the vision for something, they commit to it. They are wholeheartedly committed to it. And so they caught the vision of Zion worship. They caught the vision of what Rebecca was delivering to them, and they embraced it, and they ran with it, and they wanted more of it. In fact, to tell you the truth, when I left, or when we were leaving, somebody said to me, a pastor said to me, is it possible that you can go back alone and she stay here? I said, well, I don't think Pastor Wallace is going to go with that. And then one person joking, of course they were joking, I hope they were joking, said, oh, and Becky can come back again. Oh yeah, bring your father too. That'd be a good thing. But so she was very, very well received. And I was so exceedingly pleased with how easily she fit in and how easily she communicated and how easily she was able to execute all these things. And one of the things that we were tasked with was to help conduct a graduation ceremony. They had 59 students in Nalgonda that were graduating, and there were 300 people present there. And Becky just figured she was going to be a figurehead, sitting next to me. Well, the lady that was doing the emceeing turned and said, and now we would like to invite Sister Rebecca to come and share. She walked right up to the microphone and did it. And then sat back down, and it was as nothing. So, I was exceedingly pleased. And the whole thing was kind of like that. In India, our beloved Indian friends, they're very fluid, and so you have to be able to bob and weave and ebb and flow, and so she had the ability to do that. And there were a few occasions when they said, "Oh, maybe we didn't tell you were leading worship tonight," and she just was able to rise to the challenge. I don't think not that instance she didn't lead worship. She led a couple of songs in worship just to show the group the activity of which she was teaching in the workshops. So she conducted worship workshops, which covered multiple days, and as I said, they held her back from going to Pune because they needed her there to continue with the teaching. And then she spoke multiple times to the youth. And so she worked with the youth and the worship team, teaching Zion songs and teaching, some of the songs we're familiar with here. She taught a little in the workshop. She also taught on the life of a worshiper, the importance of having a life that backs up, the worship. And then she taught a little bit on biblical worship, what it means to have biblical worship versus non-biblical, Romans chapter 12 verse 2, not conform to this world, but transform by the renewing of your mind. Shared multiple times at the youth meetings, led song services, taught open worship for several services, and then emphasized, and this was a kind of a main point here, emphasized worship between songs in order to encourage the prophetic flow. And I think that this was very impactful. In fact, I made a few points of emphasis myself as well. We want to worship, sing worship songs, and then worship the Lord, and then pause and allow for a little prophetic flow. And one night in particular, God gave a very powerful word. And so, that was very practical. But they all jumped on board. They all said, this is where we all want to go. And so they all really ate it up and drank it up. And I was exceedingly pleased with the way that God was moving through Rebecca, and they all very much appreciated it. In fact, they actually gave it the last Sunday we were there were people that asked if they could come up and give testimonials of what Becky's teaching meant to them. And they came up in front of the congregation and gave little testimonials of how impactful it was. So it was well done. It was very, very well done. So, we feel as though we hit the mark for this trip, and we're absolutely convinced that all glory goes to God, because it was just kind of the easiest thing. It was like falling out of bed. Just the easiest thing in the world to do this. And then, I had a rather busy schedule as well. And Wednesday the 15th, we arrived in Hyderabad around dinner time, evening. And so we had the evening off, and then all of the next day we had rest and relaxation. And then the following day was Friday, and they have Bible studies on Friday nights. And so they had me teach the Bible study, and the message that I spoke on was endurance and perseverance. And it actually something that I shared here as well some time back. Now, something unique that came up that I didn't even know was going to be on the schedule. When I looked at the schedule, I saw something in there, but I thought it was just like a meet and greet kind of thing, where we were just going to meet with the parents and talk to them and maybe ask for prayer requests and stuff like that. But they actually wanted me to teach a seminar on raising children and parenting. And I mean, I felt a little bit out of place, but anyways, I put together some notes, and when I got behind the pulpit, I found there was an unusual anointing on it, and people came forward and wanted to be prayed for, and it really ended up being almost a very significant part of it all. I think there's a tendency as a product of the age in which we live in to let the children kind of rule the roost. And so a lot of it was concerning training up a child in the way that he should go. And that word training in Proverbs is kind of the same word that's used in the Sermon on the Mount when the Lord's talking about the narrow way. Narrow them in, bring them in. And then, of course, we brought in Ephesians, which said, don't oppress them, don't make life so difficult for them that they want to leave the church. But nevertheless, foolishness is in the heart of a child. You don't just let them rule the roost. You've got to explain to them how things are done. If they get up and they run out into the aisles and start running up and down the aisles during the service, you're the parent, you've got to stop them from doing that. That's not appropriate. So anyways, it was very, I really only found out about it hours before I was conducting the seminar. And I had all kinds of notes with me, but I didn't have any notes on that. So I just kind of sat and waited on the Lord and just kind of went down that road. And then, and then of course Sunday, so Saturday was the seminar on raising children. Sunday was the services, so I spoke on don't let the fire go out. Don't let the fire go out. Things that encourage the fire and things that snuff out the fire. And then Monday was a pastor's meeting, and again, I misunderstood the schedule. I thought this was going to be a meet and greet, but they wanted me to teach a seminar, and so I went to the Lord, and God very quickly spoke to me, signs of the times. And so it ended up being a full-blown seminar on things that must take place before the Lord can return. And so that went, they didn't want me to stop, so we just kept going until we spoke. I think I probably spoke about an hour and a half. But but there are, in the church, a great deal of there's a lot of misunderstanding about Jesus being able to come at any time. And we went literally through the last 7 years, the appearance of Moses and Elijah, and the whole. You understand the whole 7 year period there. The Antichrist coming on the scene, coming to power when Moses and Elijah first of all developed that Moses and Elijah were the witnesses, and then they would be slain. The Antichrist would do the abomination of desolation. The woman would go into the wilderness. We covered all of these different signs, including Israel having a temple, offering sacrifices, all of those things which must take place. And there were questions. There were good questions. And so that was very, very productive. And so that was Monday, the pastor's meeting, seminar. And then Tuesday, the 21st, we drove to Nalgonda, which is, if you're in India, they will tell you it's a couple hours, but it's a little bit longer than that. And it's round trip. And then the next day, that was for the graduation. And I spoke at the graduation concerning ministerial garments and personal garments. You know, the priestly garments are kind of broken into two parts. There's the ministerial garments that they, minister with, but there's the linen garments, the undergarments. And so we broke that into personal garments versus ministerial garments. And then we had a meeting. I wasn't even aware of this, but we were going to Vijayawada the next day, which is actually 2 hours beyond Nalgonda. So we went to Nalgonda and then back, and then the next day we went farther than Nalgonda and then back. And that ended up being a pastor seminar as well. And so Brother Swarup wanted me to teach on the signs of the times there too, so we did that twice. We did that there as well. Thursday was a much-needed day off. We had a chance for a little bit of R&R. I won't go into details here, but I had some issues with my neck and I required medical treatment. And so they, fortunately, Swarup's sister is the director of the clinic, and the physical therapy. So, I had to get some treatments as well, but, now we're doing good. And then, Friday, I was supposed to go to Pune Friday. It was going to be Friday night for a couple hours, and then Saturday all day teaching, at least till like 3:30. And then, but we had done so much driving that Pastor Swarup said, "I'm just going to buy you an airplane ticket, and we're just going to fly you there." It's a 1-hour flight there and back. So we got up about 3 a.m, drove to the airport, got on a regional flight from Hyderabad to Pune, and was there in about an hour. Got checked into a hotel, just to freshen up and to get some breakfast, and then went off to the seminar on Saturday. So Friday was free now, because we were supposed to go Friday, but we didn't. And so I thought, Friday, another day off, that's going to be nice. And then about 5 o'clock, Swarup said, "We'll be leaving for church in, about an hour and 45 minutes. And I said, "Oh, church, that's right. You have a Friday night Bible study." I said, "Who's teaching?" And he goes, "You are." "Didn't anyone tell you?" Now, he had said, there was miscommunication. But I said, "How can I be on the schedule Friday night? I was supposed to be in Pune. I wasn't even supposed to be here." So anyways, we did the Friday night Bible study. And when I went to the Lord, he was faithful, gave me a message, and so we spoke that night on God wanting to meet with his people, use some examples from the scriptures on that. So Friday night, Bible study, and then Saturday morning, we got up at 3 a.m. and flew to Pune and did everything on Saturday we were supposed to do Friday and Saturday. And that was teaching Pastor Tucker's book, Glory to Glory. And it was very well received, and I would have to say, that might have been one of the more anointed teachings that took place during at least from my perspective anyway, from the trip. And they really, really appreciated it. Pune is considered North India. It's just right on the border of northern India, and it's not safe. It's not safe. The compound itself has been, or I should say the little village that the compound is in has been assaulted by the Hindus many times. And the people in the school are aware that, they could come knocking on their door any time. So it is really not, they really are paying a price there. They really live under the threat of, some of the persecution that's going on in the north. So, but we taught on Glory to Glory. They received it very well. Everybody there was a whole full group of students there, at least 49 of them. Every single one of them was the head of a cell group. Every one of them was a leader. Every one of them had influence over people. So when you're teaching 49 who are in charge of maybe a dozen or however many are under them, you're really exponential growth as far as people that are being affected. The Pastor Ashtok in Pune, is a man who reached out to Swaroop and said, we need some teaching in Pune and we like the Zion vision. And so Swaroop said, okay, well, why don't we come up and conduct a seminar and meet and greet and get acquainted? And the fellow said, when you come to Pune, you're coming to teach our first class. We don't need this meet and greet stuff. We need teaching now. And so they're hungry. They are really, really hungry. So Swaroop laughed. He got together, the courses, and they went up there, and now they're on their 9th course. This was the 9th, maybe the 10th course that they had in the series. So that was really a very special trip there, and I feel as though we really plowed some ground. There's going to be a video that follows. There's going to be a video that they're going to put together and send to me, and we will show it at a future time, just like we did earlier this year. But right now we're just doing a wrap-up. But Pastor Ashtok, 25 years ago, now the Bible school is a church as well. And 25 years ago, God spoke to him to build a building. And just like Zeman in Ethiopia, he built a beautiful structure, a whole compound. He built a whole compound there. And it's extremely high quality, very well done in this, which you might consider to be somewhat desperate little village. There's a beautiful compound there. So that went extremely, extremely well. And then we flew back on this airline. I never even heard of it before, Star Airline or something like that. And, I love India. I love the people of India. But there are things about India that are hard to bear. Pastor you would not have enjoyed this at all. We get to the airport, going through the airport and going through security is a crapshoot because they might stop you for your sunglasses or they may stop you for some benign thing, and then make a big deal out of it. So getting through the airport Pune is not a bad airport to get through, but nevertheless, we finally get to the airport and we are trying to find our gate, and they got gate 5 up top and then gate 5A and 5B downstairs. It's like, what is this all about? So anyways, we go down to 5A, and we're looking at, it's like 7 o'clock at night. It's supposed to take off at 7:15. It's now 7:30, and there's not even a gate agent. There's not even a plane. And we're sitting there, and I'm like, I said to Pradeep was with me, brother Pastor Pradeep was with me. Pradeep is one of the men that Pastor and I had the privilege of ordaining under Swaroop's leadership. And so I said, I have this horrible feeling that we're sitting at the wrong gate. Can we go look around and see some of these other gates and see what's going on there? And so we're walking around talking to other gate agents, and they're like, that's not our airline, that's not our airline. And then finally one gate agent said, down at 5A and 5B, that's the only place. It's a small airline. It's the only place they fly out of. And so we're like, okay, so it's the right gate. So we go back down and sit there. I don't know, no updates, nothing. You're just sitting there. An hour goes by, just wondering what's going to happen here. Am I going to make it back to Hyderabad? And then when they do show up, it's like, pew, 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 pew. Everybody out to the airplane, you're like, am I getting on the right plane? Am I going to end up in Bangalore? Where am I going here? But, so that was a little bit unnerving. It's a little bit nerve-wracking. And, then we finally get back, and I want you to appreciate what it's like here. I'm not complaining. Please don't misunderstand. I just want you to understand what it's like. I wasn't planning to speak Friday night. I spoke Friday night. And then after church, I got up at 3 a.m. and flew to Pune. Taught all day in Pune, tried to get back to Hyderabad, and then next morning get up for Sunday service and preach Sunday service. And then after Sunday service, I was reminded that I had another Raising Children seminar. So we pulled the notes out again, and but I'm happy to do it. I'm just happy to do it. You know, I'm really happy to do it. And they're all so gracious. They're all so good, good to you. But it can be a little bit stretching, and they make up for it in killing you with kindness, because when they put a spread before you, and you're at a table to eat, you're going to eat, brother. You're going to eat and eat and eat. I think Pastor says they're going to kill you with kindness. But so I'm just giving you folks here a little snapshot, you know, of what it's like. I'm not complaining about anything. They took really good care of us, and the opportunity is phenomenal. And I would leave next week again to do the same thing all over again. Of course, I could sleep on the plane, so you know it's not really a
Yes, you have a gift.
But I talked to Becky tonight, and she's having a little bit of fatigue. But at any rate, it was very well received, and there is a very strong sense that, you know, that God is giving us continuance of the work in India. Pastors laid the foundation. He's called me to help build thereupon, and we are indeed doing that. And during this time, the work continues to grow in India. There's even talks right now for another place for another Bible school, and also there's discussions. We don't know how far in the future, but there's discussions on even starting a degree program in India. So there's a lot going on. There's an awful lot going on. So God has blessed the Indian people, and they are spread throughout the earth. There's something about the Indian people that has touched God's heart. And so we're thrilled to be a part of it. And for those who might end up listening to this from India, we very much appreciate your hospitality. We are more than happy to adjust to the differences between our cultures, because it's God's work. So, but anyways, I just wanted to give you a little wrap up of that. There will be a video to follow. They're producing one in India, and when that becomes available, well, we'll play that, and it will give you more of a graphic representation. And tonight we just gave you a logistic one.